Hello, Quilt Roadies. How are you doing? Today is a great day to be in the beehive because it's kind of overcast. It's not raining, but it's just gray outside. We say this over and over again on YouTube. The weather, the weather, the weather. Yeah. Well, we are slowly getting ready to do a little camping. And so I've been kind of rushing around trying to figure out what I'm going to take. And this is a little bit of a longer camping trip than a weekend. But what I have found is that really with the weather, I can hear my mom, stop complaining about the weather. You can't do anything about it. Yeah, wise woman. Well, when we used to go cross country and stop at all the places, and I would have my little sewing machine with me, and I would crank it out there. Either we had a big enough rig that I could sit at a table and sew, or I'd take it outside on a picnic bench and run an extension cord and do that. Well, in Penny, the van, there just isn't that opportunity to do that. It would be too crowded. And not knowing the predictability, although G tells me we'll be chasing sunshine, which is amazing, I don't know, I'm just not in the mood to futz with all that. And there is limited space in the van. You have to be somewhat... You can't be a pack rat in the van. You just can't. So it's handwork that I'm going to be taking. And I'm hoping that I'll be able to visit Corn Wagon Quilts in Springville, Utah. I'm not sure whether that will fit into the schedule, but if I do, I certainly will bring you an updated video. It's I remember it as being an absolutely lovely shop, and I am hoping, it seems like it's still there and still open, so keep my fingers crossed for that. Of course, I won't be purchasing anything. Yeah, well, yeah, we'll see. I never make promises, do I? I think I want to go mea culpa, but you would have seen at the beginning, and you can restart this video and stop it to take a closer look at the fabulous quilt that Cheryl, who is one half of Stitching with the Sisterlies, made for my birthday. Because you know, October's coming, and I celebrate all month. So now I've actually even started in September. Yeah, no apologies here. But the quilt is machine embroidered with all kinds of camping themes. I'm blown away by the sheer love that went into making it. And it is going to be on my bed, my bunk in Penny. And so I felt this need to decorate a little bit. So I decided to put the binding on the other camping quilt that I made, the strip piecing one, remember that? And tack the binding down on this strip for G's bed. And it is, I just have to tell you, for these utility quilts, I call them utility quilts, you know, where you're going to just use them to fraying. I don't stress about the binding. I have a whole spool cabinet with drawers that are filled with leftover binding from previous quilts, and whenever I do a grandkid quilt or something like that, I just scrappy piece the binding. And so I had enough pieces of, you can see enough pieces of brown binding that I could put together a whole binding for this quilt, and so I'm going to be tacking it down while we drive along. Yeah, see, and here's another strip piece of it, and get it all cozy and ready for G to use that first night of sleeping. Yeah. This last week I was at Pinwith, which is called the Pacific Northwest Stitch Summit. It is a cross-stitch event put on by Acorns and Threads, and you know that they're near and dear to me. Everyone that works there, the owner, it's a lovely place. And many of the cross-stitchers, like myself or Cheryl or Colleen of Stitching with the Sisterlies, are crossover. We do all kinds of material art, whether it be quilting, embroidery. There's just not one thing that we are sticking to. And even Stitchy Witch 42, which is Audrey, has been putting her toe in the wool stitching, which I don't want to spook her, but it's really exciting because wool is my number one. It's my number one. So before we get on to some things that I've been doing, I wanted to show you this. This was a cross stitch. It was the first cross stitch design by Sambry Stitches when she first decided to be a cross stitch designer. And I thought it embodied the Pacific Northwest, and so I immediately stitched it up. But I never knew what I was going to do, what the final product was going to be. And I decided that I was going to make it, because there's limited space to hang anything in the van, and I have my grandkids' photos, Enzo's photo, you know, up on the wall, and then there's not much wall space, let me just say. So I decided that this particular cross stitch I was going to make into a pillow for the van. I'm quite pleased with how it turned out. And my friend Chris Gill, who is also a quilter, was here as I was kind of trying to choose fabrics. And when I get focused, it's like I can't stop myself. So I made the piping, because I like pillows with piping. And so I made piping for it, and I made the pillow form for it. So I'll talk a little bit about that. But here it is. See, there's the cross stitch. It has, if you can see, there's a Bigfoot and bear and eagle and weather and mountains and cabin and a deer. And so then I put a little bit of sashing, and then I picked some fabric out that kind of complemented it, and then I made the piping for the pillow. Now, the way I do my pillows is I just do an overlap. You know, I overlap the piece. And to make the pillow form, all I do is I measure the pillow, I cut out two pieces of batting, and I stuff it with polyfill. I sew it all around, leave a little opening, stuff it with polyfill, and then sew it closed. And then I have the perfect sized pillow form for any pillow I make. But isn't that just, I just love that. So this is going to go on one of the bunks. It makes you feel good when you get something fully finished, as they call in the cross-stitch world. Let me think now. I'm still reading Brene Brown's Atlas of the Heart. I needed this book, and I absolutely love it, and I love the artwork on the front. So this has been my go-to reading, and my bookmark, I have to show you my bookmark. This was a weaving done by a weaver over at the Latimer Textile Center. If you ever get to Tillamook, Oregon, it's not only famous for cheese, but cheese is a big deal over there. But they have a wonderful museum and textile center there that people are doing all kinds of weaving, quilting, cross-stitching, embroidery. It's the full meal deal, and it's a lovely place to stop if you're going up and down the coast. So I'm reading Atlas of the Heart. G and I are currently watching, we just got hooked into it yesterday. I used to read C.J. Bach's series. I don't know if you are familiar with that, but it's highly entertaining. It's Joe Pickett is the main character in it, and he is a game warden in Wyoming. I'm enjoying, we've just watched 3 episodes of the first seasons, and there are only 2 or 3 seasons. He looks different than I envisioned Joe Pickett when I was reading the books, but it's a good series to watch. It's a mystery and, all that small town stuff, and I've lived in a lot of small towns. So I've been enjoying it. So I would recommend you give it a sniff. Give it a sniff. Okay, so as I have been thinking about this camping trip, I realize I have to take handwork, so I'm taking the binding. I am taking my Kathy Schmidt's, what we're stitching along together, our stitch along. I started, I have barely a start in September, but I will have it done before the end of September. And I will even start October. I can't believe October, November. Oh my gosh, this is going to be done. Oh, this is so cool. It's a project that's almost done. So I'll be taking this along with me, and I have the thread in here. But I started worrying about, those projects that we set up for ourselves, Deadlines amuse me. Yes, they do. But I started thinking about, for those of you that are continuing to plug along with me on an It's So Emma pattern cream and sugar block of the month that originally was done. Everyone that's doing it with me, all of you know who you are chose your own fabrics. And for me, I chose historical fabrics, a combination of like 1800s, Civil War. I have a whole pile of those fabrics. But when I went to do the current block, September's block of the month, I'm calling this September's block of the month, I didn't have enough fabric. And I had told you last time that I was going to go to Pioneer Quilts, and it's only 8 miles from me, which is awesome, and pick up some more purple toned fabrics or lavender fabrics. There's a crow sitting on the very top of the tree, and he's gazing out at the world like it's like the neighborhood watch. It's like the neighborhood watch. Okay, so I went to Pioneer Quilts and I picked up some extra fabric. A week later, I'm like, okay, we need to get this done in September. And I couldn't find the fabrics. I was wondering, where did I put the fabric? And it was so funny, because yesterday was Woolly Wednesday at Pioneer Quilts, and when I went to go, I saw the bag was in one of my grandkids' car seat in the back seat. Never even got in the house. so I brought it in after Woolly Wednesday and worked on the September block. Here's the thing. I thought these were all, you know, just blocks that, just like 10-inch blocks, you know. I thought they were all 10.5 by 10.5 inch blocks. No, the first blocks we made are the base of a bigger block, and now I made two 20-inch blocks. No clue that that's where the path was leading me. And so I got two 20-inch blocks done. Look at that. I mean, how fun is that? I've never made a 20-inch quilt block. I have never made a 20-inch quilt block. So now I have two blocks for September, and then next month we will work on the next block. So I'm you know, they say what you say about assuming, but I am assuming that eventually they'll all be 20-inch blocks. Oh no, huh. The next month's block, which is the Cypress Star block, wow, I can't wait to see. Oh, duh. I'm looking at the cover, and all the blocks are different sizes. I know. I jump in not knowing the temperature of the water. That's just the way I roll. Oh, they're all different. What a fun quilt. So next month's block, October's, is the Cypress Star block, which is 15.5 by 15.5. Oh my gosh, this is going to be an amazing, amazing quilt. As if I didn't already know that. As if I didn't. So know that if you want to jump in now, jump in and join us. I got the book from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it was actually a block of the month with Edita Sitar's fabric, I believe. But we decided here on Quilt Roadies that we'd use whatever fabrics we want. So you could choose whatever fabrics you want to do it on, do it with. And so I chose my biggest pile. It was the historical fabrics that I have. Oh, this is going to be amazing. Yeah, so anyway. How fun. How fun. I really didn't even know that when I started it. I just thought they were all the same size. What a crack-up. Sometimes I crack myself up. Yeah. Well, in the bag that I bought at Pioneer Quilts like 2 or 3 weeks ago was this panel, and I have to make a throw blanket, a TV watching blanket for my older grandson, because for Christmas. I just think that's such a hoot. And I could maybe stitch something that shows him talking to my grandson with his name. I think that will be hysterical. Now, many of you years ago all jumped on board and made this stitching pillow. It is in the shape of a biscornu, which means that a lot of the points, they are off-centered from each other. And I stuffed this with a whole bag of polyfill. A lot of people have been going on, and you can Google Quilt Roadies stitching pillow, and the tutorial will come up for this. But the reason I'm sharing this is that this pillow has traveled all over. It goes everywhere with me. And I actually have a second one that stays in the van. But what I wanted to share with you is that it was pretty grungy, and so I threw it in the washing machine and then threw it in the dryer, and it fluffed right back up and got all clean. So these stitching pillows, and you can see where I quilted it. I layered it with a piece of batting and quilted it before I sewed it all together. But yeah, love my stitching pillow. So wanted to share that with you. So yesterday was Woolly Wednesday, which is my stitching group at Pioneer Quilts. It's the one I belong to. It's not even a belong to. You don't have to sign up and join or anything like that. It's just an open stitch. And people do any kind of handwork. It's really not set up for machine work, but there are ironing boards available, so there's all manner of applique or fusible stuff that goes on. A lot of people are doing wool applique or needle turn applique. Embroidery's big there, and I was really excited because yesterday the gal who schedules the classes for Pioneer Quilts contacted the group, and Renee is kind of our point person in the group, and now they're going to allow us to meet the first and third Wednesday of every month. And what it is you show up, you sign on a clipboard, it costs you $5. That's to cover the use of the room and the irons and all of that. So it's just a $5, basically like a donation. And we sit and we talk, and it's been a really nice group to sit and stitch with. And what I love is that many of them have the same old projects that I do, and so it's like, oh, you don't feel so bad about being so far behind or not having finished something. But I decided yesterday that I wanted to take my Urban Heirloom Rose. This was the smaller version of Lisa Bongian's Block of the Month, and this was a Block of the Month from 2019, yeah, a bit ago. And it's 42 by 42. It's so different than what I would normally. I'm more of a folk or old-fashioned, or I don't even know how to explain it, but the modern colors of this, which are grays and navy and tans and white, weren't really where my like I like the orange pumpkins, that kind of stuff. So I decided in 2019 to do this Block of the Month, and then, as with all things, life gets in the way. We moved, I discovered some other things that I wanted to do, and but I decided to take this yesterday and work on it. And that's the thing, it reinvigorated me to finish it, and I realized that I was really making some headway. So I only have one block that has no stitching on it. Every other block, and I have one, like this block is totally done. Isn't that pretty? That block's totally done. The block 9 is totally done. Oh, it has, no, yeah, it's done. This block is done, so I have 3 blocks done, 4 blocks done. Oh, this is exciting. See, I should be showing them to you. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. And let's see this one. Ooh, 5 blocks done. 5 blocks done. So I have 1, two blocks that are partially stitched and 2 blocks that have no stitching on them. So 4 blocks to get this done, at least the blocks done, and then I'll figure out the border. Taking that yesterday, just, yep, I'm getting this done this year. I hope I get it. I'm going to plan to have the blocks done in 2024. And then we'll decide about the border. I'm not sure about the border. I kind of like it, and there's a lot of stitching. If you see, I'm going to show you. There's a lot of stitching on in between the blocks. I don't know if you can see that. There's embroidery stitching in between, and then all these little things. But then I have all this to do. It's gorgeous, isn't it? It's gorgeous. Yeah, so it makes, when I took it yesterday, I hadn't stitched on it in a long time, and when I took it yesterday, it just revitalized. I just have to show you this gorgeous folder that Chris Yo, as the Yo flies. She does all kinds of crafty things, and she made this folder for me. Isn't that quilted and everything? It's so pretty. It's so pretty. I wish I had her waistline. Just saying. Just saying. So that's all we got so far. And then, yeah, starting in October, 1st and 3rd Wednesdays will be open stitch at Pioneer Quilts. And then I want to check out what Cedar Ridge has going on. Cedar Ridge Quilts is a lovely shop also. I just want to check out what they've got going on for the fall and winter. My friend Cheryl, now let me just say this. There are so many people, stitchers, creators, crafters, who have one channel where they share all their stuff. I don't know why I didn't do that, but now I can't wrap my mind around combining them. So that's just the way I'm gonna roll. But let me just tell you, there are many floss tubes, which is that moniker for cross stitch YouTube channels, but many of those are also quilters. So Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, Olivia does both. Textilist Lori does both. Cheryl and Colleen, who are stitching with the Sisterlies, does quilting and cross stitch. And there's just a whole list. There's a whole list of those that do both. And so I would not avoid a floss tube if I were you, because there could be definitely quilting on it. It's Sue Stanley. There's just so many that do such lovely presentations of their quilting and their cross stitch all under one name. So I'll list a few of them below in the description box so that you can maybe take a chance. Even though it's a cross stitch, you might find that there's, I mean, Lori has bolts of fabrics. Cheryl has bolts of fabrics in her sewing room. And Cheryl, who is stitching with the Sisterlies, actually is going to be starting her own YouTube channel, Rust Ribbons and, oh, I have the bag here. I feel like I don't want to say the wrong way, but she's currently starting to plan and organize a whole homesteading and quilting channel that is, I can't wait. I mean, she's already got someone who wants to come to her workshop and teach sashiko. I mean, yes, yes, please. And I feel like sashiko is making another resurgence because when I was at Pioneer Quilts, there was a lot of sashiko there. Books, fabrics, threads, more than I had ever seen before. And that's on my list of things that I love. So please keep your mind open, keep your hands stitching, and know that there's peace in the world when makers make. You take care, and you know that I love you guys.